this is how I chose my college course, and it makes me cringe so much to think about it now. But it shows how high my anxiety was because I was so easily influenced into choosing this course. Hiya, I watched a video by Alana Diggin the other day on the future, so I'll leave a link to that in the description box below if you're interested, because it inspired this video, inspired me to talk about how I chose my college course. To give you a bit of a backstory, I was studying 2 science subjects for my leaving cert. So everybody was like, Jessica, you should do science in college. Why wouldn't you do science? And I was like, I think I want to do music. I didn't do music. I was rubbish at music. I didn't even study it for the leaving cert. And then also I wanted to want my science teachers to like me. So I think it was just all of that pressure combined, just in my mind, made it flip. And suddenly I went from being like, no, I'm not doing science, to, oh my god, I want to do science so much. I was dead set on studying medicinal chemistry in college. You have no idea. I had a course picked out, I had backup courses, I had the internships that I was going to apply to throughout college, in my first year, second year, third year, fourth year. I had them all picked out. I was like, I'm gonna apply for this grant, I'm gonna go for this PhD, and then I was figuring out how I was gonna get funding for a PhD before I'd even gotten accepted to college. You have no idea how focused I was on studying medicinal chemistry. And then my guidance counsellor, she decides to set me up with a trip to UCD, one of the universities in Dublin. And she's like, yeah, you can meet one of the lecturers in science and you can ask me questions. I didn't have any questions. I don't understand this whole notion of going somewhere to ask someone questions. All of the information is on the internet. The lecturer was showing me around the campus and I was like, yeah, I know all of this stuff. I have read it online. You know, I was walking around and it was like instantly I just knew, yeah, this isn't for me. I'm not gonna do this. It was just, that switch in my brain just went off. And it was actually around the time that I started watching YouTube. Easter 2013, I was sitting in my aunt's sitting room, I was on my iPad, and for some reason a load of Dan and Phil fans have been following me on Twitter recently. So I was like, I have to find out who these boys are. I just hadn't taken the time out to relax and find out who they were. So on Easter I was like, you know what, I'm going to do that now. I'm going to find out who these boys are because they're quite cute. So I went into one of the fan accounts and I found Dan and I was like, oh, he's a BBC presenter. And at the time I was really into radio. I wanted to work in radio so much. It was like my 100% goal. Science was like a backup. I had my PhD and everything picked out, but that was my backup. I wanted to work in radio. So I was like, oh, these people must be following me because I do radio or something. I don't know, what's the deal? And then I found Dan's YouTube channel and I fell in love. Oh my god, you have no idea how much love I had for Dan Hill. I still love Dan's old content. I still watch him now and I think he's brilliant. I fell in love with Dan Hill that night and Kick the PJ and Crab Sticks and Amazing Phil, and I watched all of their videos and I was like, wow, YouTube is a thing that is about to change my life. And I was amazed that they'd gotten jobs as presenters through YouTube. So I was like, this is another avenue into radio. I better jump on this. That is literally how I ended up here. I was like, I'm gonna do my own show on the internet and then I'll have experience to show all the radio people, and yeah. And that is the story of that. That wasn't the story that I was telling. I was telling the story of how I chose a college course. Good God! So where were we? I went to UCD, right? And I was like, no, this isn't for me. This isn't for me. And at the time, not only was I watching YouTube a lot, I was 100% dedicated to Home and Away. You have no idea. You have no idea of my love for Casey Braxton. I related to him so much. He was going through some serious daddy issues kind of stuff when I started watching in September 2012. And he had such a supportive big brother in Brax, and I loved him and I related to him on such a deep level. He was depressed when he was in jail, and I was depressed, although I didn't actually know it. And I loved this man. Even if he was a fictional character, I had such a deep love for him. So I was watching Home and Away constantly, and then I became really invested in YouTube, and that was all I watched. That was all I did. I didn't study anymore, which was a complete turnaround, because it could be like 10 p.m, 11 p.m, even 12 a.m. when I would be finishing up studying for the night, and then I had just gotten so burnt out, and I was like, oh, I don't want to do science anymore. What am I even doing this for? That I was like, I just had no motivation to study whatsoever. I still wanted to do well in the Leaving Cert, because I was like, I'm gonna need my points eventually, but I had no clue what I wanted to do. So I started watching Home and Away like really intensely. I found it online where it had been uploaded legally. Shh, don't tell anyone in case I get in trouble. I watched that, and then I was watching Dan Hill like constantly, and then I discovered Marcus Butler and Alfie and Stella and all those people. So like in May I was really invested in YouTube and in Home and Away, and I was like, I want to be the director or the scriptwriter of Home and Away, and I want to be an actor on Home and Away, so that I will be Casey's girlfriend on screen. And you know the way that actors sometimes who are on screen in relationships then off screen become in relationships. I want that to happen with us. So I just want to work on Home and Away. That was like the dream now, to work on Home and Away. So then one Wednesday night I was like, I'm gonna take a break from studying, even though I'm not really studying, I'm basically just watching YouTube the whole time. And I'm going to go off and see The Great Gatsby, because the trailers had been on everywhere. It just looks so beautiful and romantic, and Leonardo DiCaprio was in it. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go see this. So one Wednesday evening we went to see The Great Gatsby, and oh my god, my mind was blown. I fell in love. I fell in love with that film, and it reminded me of Romeo and Juliet because of like the style of it, and like the party scenes. It reminds me of Romeo and Juliet by Baz Luhrmann, and I hadn't a clue that it was by the same director. So I went off and watched that, and then I started looking into both of them on like their Wikipedia pages and like researching the films. And then I discovered they were made by the same man, and I was like, oh my god, film is amazing! I love film! And that's how I ended up studying film. I saw The Great Gatsby, and I was like, I love this! I'm gonna make films like this, and it'll help me become a person on the Home and Away. And yeah, maybe YouTube will be relevant with it too, yeah! I saw a film, and then I decided I was going to go study film. And you know what makes it worse? There's an option with my course. You can either study digital cultures, which is like Photoshop, animation, all that sort of interesting stuff. You can study French, and I didn't do French in school, I did German. Or you can study Irish. What do you think I went for? I went for Irish because I had a crush on a TG Carr presenter. This is how impressionable I was! I had a crush on the presenter on TV, and I decided I was going to go study a language because I liked him, and because I might get to work with him one day because I know the language. I told everyone, oh, it's so much easier to get jobs in Irish when you're starting out in media because there's less competition for the roles. Yeah, that was true as well, but really I just wanted to work with this lovely looking man who was too old for me. And I wanted to study film because I saw a film when I was really stressed. No. Are you disappointed in me? I'm disappointed in me. I feel like I might be rambling now, but that's the story anyway. How I ended up in college. And tell me how you came to choosing what you would study in college. How did you decide on that? What are your plans for the future if you haven't gone to college, or if you're planning on going to college? If you like that video, you should go watch the lemon chicken story, because that's another story time, and it's cringy for me. It's entertaining for you, so you should definitely go watch that. Press subscribe down here so that you can like get notified when I make new videos, and we'll have a little relationship going on. Thanks very much for watching though, seriously. Slán.